Yeah. Another 72-hour fast in process, y'all. And you are joining me as we are just about to hit 48 hours in this fasting week. As you know, we do that once a week. 72 hours is usually what we do. And I'm excited to be here. Now, we talk about fasting as a way to treat physical issues, right? Diabetes, reversing diabetes, and treating metabolic disease, and treating hypertension, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, coronary artery disease. But does fasting help with the brain? And the answer is going to come here as we get into our show tonight. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. And I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to get off of diabetes medications and improve their metabolic health. Like I said, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that I'm glad that you are here. And if you are new and you have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat because we'd love to get to you and answer those as we move through the rest of the evening. We have just now completed, y'all, our August community meetup, our New Year, New You community meetup. And in fact, I have some of our community members that are sitting over here in Zoom watching me just as we are live. And I'm so excited that we were able to have them come through and to spend some time with them. If you've not joined us for one of our community meetups, you want to make sure that you do that, okay? And as is usual, I have off to the side, I've got my meters, I've got my, let's pop that over. Here you go. So I've got my meters that we're going to look at here in just a minute and look at our blood sugars. And then you see on the screen what my current number is according to my Libre. And then, of course, I've got my report right down there that we're going to take a look at in a minute and see where things have been going in terms of my blood sugar. But before we do that, we're going to do our check-in. This past Monday, we continued our series on the pillars of reversing diabetes. We are in the third pillar right now, which is reducing sugar, and we did our second show, our second episode on reducing sugar this past Monday. If you've not done so, go back and take a look at that as we move through that process. All right, so checking in. And I do this because I want you to know that there are three areas where people will often find difficulty in terms of fasting, and they are physical, mental, and emotional. Physical, mental, and emotional. And so I'm just under 48 hours of fasting right now. So how am I feeling? When we talk about physical, it's often feeling tired, feeling fatigued, feeling lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, having palpitations. Those are the things that people will typically feel. This week, I'm not feeling any of that, but I did mention in our check-in last night, and I mentioned it in our community meetup tonight, that this time, as I got into the fasts, I felt a lot more queasiness, a little bit more nausea. And as you know, I was trying to do a fast Sunday night and then Monday night, and I got right at 24 hours. One night I got to 25 hours, and I was just so nauseated that I actually broke the fast and ate something that actually quieted it down. And one of the things I'm excited about is that I'm now about to hit 48 hours and then moving into 72 hours coming up. So this has been a kind of a different week in terms of the fasting and how I'm feeling physically, okay? So always we want to make sure that we're monitoring our body. And then mentally, and we're going to talk more about mental tonight, but mental clarity. Right now I'm feeling not sluggish, not dull, but I'm feeling pretty clear in my thought process. I am a little bit tired, right? And of course that affects the mentation a bit, but for the most part, doing well in that area. And then, of course, emotionally, right? So physically, mentally, and emotionally, I mentioned earlier that this was a little bit of a transition for me because we're coming off of a lot of things that were going on this summer. Camping that happened last week. You know, we had our anniversary and birthdays and getting back into school and some things going on in the office and my son starting school and so forth. So this has been an interesting week, but for the most part, I am excited about where I am and excited about that space. Okay? All right. So physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so tonight we're going to spend some time talking about how fasting can boost your brain. Boost your brain with fasting. That's our topic. But before we get there, let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars. And you saw there already what my blood sugar was with my Libre. Let me go ahead and grab my Dexcom so that you can see that as well. Okay, and that is taking me just a minute. Let's see. Okay, there we are. So here is my Libre. And then so if you look at the Libre, you'll see there that for most of the day, my blood sugars have been below 100 and actually kind of straddling that 70 line, starting right at about noon. And then if I look at my Dexcom, if I can get that up, my Dexcom is 88, and it says my sensor will expire in a couple hours, but that's okay. Dexcom is 88 right now. But let's go ahead also and let's look to see what my numbers are on these guys. And this is Keto Mojo, and this one will give me both a glucose and ketones. This is a Contour, and this will give me glucose. Now, people say to me, well, why do you use the Contour? I use the Contour here on the show because that's what I use in the office, and we have strips for that. Now, if you're out there and you want us to use your meter here, then you're going to have to provide the strips and the meter, okay? I think a couple of months ago, I actually brought a, which one was that? I did a one-touch, I think I did a one-touch, and we brought that. But yeah, we use the Contour in the office, and so we have Contour strips. We buy Contour strips, so I've got those. So don't think that there is anything going on here. It just happens to be the one that we use. All right, so let's go ahead and let's grab a test strip. This is for the Contour, and we'll get that in. And then here I'm going to start with the glucose as we normally do. We'll open this up and we'll get that strip into the Keto Mojo. And then my Lancet, and this is the Lancet that I like to use. I don't like a lot of the others. This is a Unistick. It's a one use. And basically you break this top part off. And they come in different colors. This one happens to be purple and white. And when I press this lever, then it will push the Lancet out, and that will give me a blood sugar drop. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go this one, and let's see. Okay, hopefully you heard that, and let's see if I got a good enough stick, because sometimes I don't. Yep, there we go. So good drop of blood. Yay! I don't have to do it again. All right, so get that one going, and then let's get a drop of blood here on the Contour. And so 58 is what the Keto Mojo says I am. And then the Contour says 66, and you'll recall that my Dexcom said 85, and then my Libre said 69. Now let's go ahead and grab this strip out and get my ketone strip opened. So what do you think my ketones are going to be right here at 47 hours of fasting? Last night when we did it at 24 hours, it was 0.3, I think is what it was. All right, so let's get that drop on. Yep, so get that one started. And of course, I'm going to tease you guys like I normally do because I'm going to get that started and then I'm not going to show you what it actually is. All right. Let me hop over here. And so let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit, or talk, not a little bit, talk about our topic, talk about our subject tonight. And one of our community members still there. Hey, Teresa, Steve, if you're still there, glad you guys are here. At some point, I told them that we're going to actually have them coming on the show. So keep an ear out, an eye out for some of that as we get into doing some different things into the new year. All right, so we're talking about boosting the brain when we are fasting. Right, so that's our topic for tonight, boosting the brain when we're fasting. And as I mentioned before, we talk about the physical benefits of fasting. And we've gone through those, right? If you've not seen one of our shows, go ahead and make sure you do that. And then for tomorrow, right, when we do our check-in, we'll come back and we'll actually walk through fasting, right? So we'll do that tomorrow. But the benefits of fasting are huge. Right, so coronary artery disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol, reversing diabetes, weight loss, and on and on and on and on. Those are all things that happen when it comes to in terms of fasting. But in this segment, we're going to talk about fasting in a different way and how do we set ourselves up? How do we use fasting for our mental clarity? And to enhance our focus, right? Because those are places where we talk around it, but let's talk about why it happens, and we'll go through some of the science that comes up as a result of how do we get into the fasting, okay? So that's the brain. So the brain is an amazing thing. It is an amazing organ. And the brain really sets us up for success if we're able to do a lot of the things that, if we are able to do things that put the brain in a space of, I don't want to say comfort, but for lack of a better word, that's a good term to use. But if we set it up for success, then the brain will help us deal with lots of things. So here's an example. Right, and this is not, I was going to say a silly one, but not necessarily a silly one, but something that we don't talk about. So if I take any disease process, and I find some treatment for it, and I give it to 100 people, so between 15, 20, maybe 30% of people will get better. Now, I'm not talking about things like, well, I shouldn't say I'm not talking about, but typical diseases. You got a foot pain, you got an earache, you've got, unless it's an infection, right? But that comes from the brain. We had Dr. Man Dang on our show several months ago, and we talked about people who had cancer. So here's a cancer one. And he said the people who tended to do better when it came to cancer were those people who were in community, people who were in a space where they were happy and satisfied, when they were rested. If you've not seen that, go back and take a look at that. Take a look at that show that we did with Dr. Mandang. So the brain is a powerful space or powerful organ that helps us. And so whatever we can do that helps us move in that direction, helps us to set the brain up for success, is what we want to do. And so one of the things that helps with that is fasting. And so we're going to talk through that here tonight. So let's get back over to our fasting. Okay, so the brain, okay? And then, so here's our agenda. And let's see. I want to do something over here really quickly, guys. Give me a second. So here's our agenda. And so what we want to do, 13. Here we go. Okay, so here's our agenda. So we're going to talk a little bit about the science behind mental clarity and focus. We're going to talk about the psychological and emotional benefits of fasting, because that has to do with the mind. We're going to talk about some practical tips to maximize your mental clarity. And then we're going to have a kind of a Q&A session. So if you have questions, make sure that you are putting those in the chat in the comments so that we can grab those as we move through the evening, okay, or move through the show. Awesome. So that's where we're heading. So if you got those, go ahead and drop those in. And then also, if you are fasting, I want you to put yes in the comments. Actually, let's do a little differently. If you're just coming out of the fast, put out. If you're in a fast, put in. And if you're going into a fast, say going. So out, in, going. And then I want you to put a number, like I fasted for 24 hours. I'm in a 24-hour fast. I'm going into a 24-hour fast. And I'm going to hop over here and I'm going to put in, because I am currently in a fast and I'm in a 72-hour fast right now. Okay, here we go. So anyway, so our agenda into the comments. So let's talk a little bit about the science behind mental clarity during fasting. And there is the reasons for mental clarity has to do with a lot of things, but one of them is because ketosis causes the brain to produce ketones. So when we are fasting, in the process of fasting, the body grabs ketones or creates ketones, and beta hydroxybutyrate is, and you don't have to know that one, but beta hydroxybutyrate is one of the ketones that it made. Well, last night on our show, we talked about acetone, which gives us that bad breath, but beta hydroxybutyrate is the most abundant, and the brain likes it. And it is a steady source of energy. It's stable. So when we are burning calories, when we're burning energy from carbohydrates, the carbohydrates fluctuate, right? Those carbohydrate levels, they fluctuate throughout the day. And so the brain is getting some, it's not getting some now. It's getting some, it's not getting some now, right? So that's going up and down. It's getting more, it's getting less. I should say not getting some, but it's getting more, it's getting less. And so that fluctuates throughout the day. But when we are burning ketones, when we're burning fat, it is a steadier source of energy. And so the brain likes that. It likes to be in the space where we're burning that steady source of energy. And so as a result of that, we get mental clarity that is beyond what we would normally get if we were burning sugar. And that comes during the process of fasting. Because remember, fasting, one of the things that we're looking for to get into ketosis. Okay? All right. Now, here's the thing. So people who are in ketosis, who are doing ketogenic diets, also will get benefit. Right? So during ketosis, the body is, or during fasting, the body's converting fat to ketones, and we get a stabler source of energy. But you can get that same thing if you're in ketosis, if you're maintaining a ketogenic diet, like some of our folks in our community are doing, or you may see people that are on YouTube or wherever you see them, books that you read, blogs that you read, even magazines that you read, people will talk about mental clarity as they are fasting or as they remain in ketosis. Okay, so the first thing is ketones. So the metabolic shift to ketosis is very good, right? And that happens, guess when that happens, y'all? Right at we get to 24 to 48 hours, right here. Okay, so that mental clarity happens, right? So beta hydroxybutyrate is the most abundant ketone, and it is one that the brain likes. The other thing is the neuroprotective effects of fasting. So ketones, particularly beta hydroxybutyrate, have neuroprotective properties, right? So a lot of studies that have done, they said that enhanced expression of beta hydroxybutyrate or BHB, right, supports growth, maintenance, and survival of neurons. So those things that are up there that are connecting right? So the fasting process, when we get those beta hydroxybutyrate, those are helping to maintain those synapses. And the other thing is we get what's called the BNP, or brain-derived natriuretic factor, right? BDNF, BDNF. Right, so this is a protein, and this protein helps support the role of neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to create new synapses. So whenever you learn something, right, learn something new, then there's a new pathway that has to be created. And the ability of the brain to do that is enhanced by BDNF. Okay, it helps with learning. BNF is essential for learning. It's essential for memory. It's essential for repair of damaged neurons and the formation of new neurons. Right, so we're talking about the science behind the mental clarity that you get. So first of all, we're giving it a steady source, a cleaner source, if you will. Then we've created substances, right, from ketones, so the beta hydroxybutyrate, and then the BDNF, right, that enhances some of those. And then the third reason is that we have reduced inflammation and oxidative stress. Reduced inflammation and oxidative stress. So inflammation, when there's inflammation, then the body then the process of cognition is impaired, right? So chronic inflammation is linked to various cognitive disorders, inflammatory substances that can damage those neurons, that inhibit the neuroplasticity. In fact, when we talk about some of the neurodegenerative diseases, we'll see that there are inflammatory substances, right? The beta-pleated sheets and neurofibrillary tangles that are involved in those, and those are all pro-inflammatory. So when we fast, then it decreases the inflammation that's there, and that allows those neurons, allows those cells, allows the neuroplasticity to progress. So that's the reducing of the inflammation. Now, oxidative stress, so our bodies have the ability to create what are called free radicals. And free radicals are substances that are created by different interactions in the body. And those free radicals can cause damage to tissues. And one of the places that they cause damage is in the brain. And when we fast, the fasting reduces the oxidative stress. Remember autophagy? Right? So autophagy, one of the things that autophagy does is it goes out and it finds damaged cells, and it basically recycles those. It improves the ability for neuroplasticity to happen. It improves the ability of the body to fight inflammation or decrease inflammation, and it helps to decrease oxidative stress. Right, so lots of things that are going on in the brain that sets us up for success. Right, so reducing the oxidative stress. So we're in ketosis. Right, we have a steady source of fuel. We're able to enhance plasticity, neuroplasticity, and learning and memory because the beta hydroxybutyrate and the BDNF. And now we're decreasing inflammation, setting ourselves up for enhanced ability to create these new neurons and new learning. And then we're decreasing the oxidative stress on the brain. Okay. And then during the process of fasting, we get lots of different hormonal changes, right? So norepinephrine, which is a stress hormone, right? So the body initially goes into that stress response, and then that decreases, and that sets us up for better focus, right? So fasting boosts norepinephrine levels. So all of this happens during the process of fasting. Yep. All right. And so now let's talk a little bit about the psychological and emotional benefits of fasting. Psychological and emotional benefits of fasting. So during fasting, right, and if you're doing extended fastings, definitely, and of course if you're doing shorter fasting, this happens as well to a smaller extent, but you're more mindful, right, because you are focused. You're more mindful. We talk about mindful eating, right, when you do eat, but mindfulness, right? People tend to be a lot more introspective. We spend more time in our daily routine, in our daily routines. We talked about that before, creating a daily routine. It heightens our awareness because we're not having to think about food. I mentioned to you that when I'm approaching my fasting window, I get excited because I love it. Because I don't have to think about food. So after that first 8 to 12 hours, yeah, my thought process about food goes away. Now, I still get the social cues, right? So that's where I find that I may have struggled, right? Because there's the social cue. But just the idea that I need to eat is usually not there. And the things that are pushing me to eat are those things that we see in our HEAT model, our habits, emotions, access, and taste. So when I see my team around me, when they're going to lunch, or one night, when was it, Monday night or Tuesday night? Tuesday is taco night. So my wife was in the kitchen. She was making tacos for my son. And that was the night I was feeling a little queasy anyway, nauseated. So I'm sitting there and getting all these smells. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Right? But being mindful, knowing where I am, emotional intelligence, the ability to sense where you are, to see what your emotions are, what the emotions of people around you are, and using those to your benefit, right? So mindfulness, that all fits into the emotional intelligence. And that heightened awareness, because we're not having to focus on food, right? Our brain power gets put into other places. And then we already have all the benefits that come from stable fuel source, the beta hydroxybutyrate, the BDNF, and then the decreased inflammation and the oxidative stress and on and on. Yeah, very good. And then we have increased mental discipline and focus. So when we're fasting, it takes discipline and it takes focus to be able to fast. Right? That's why I mentioned at the beginning when we're doing our check-in that we're talking about physical, mental, and emotional. Right? So it's not just a physical thing. It's physical, mental, and emotional. So when we're fasting, there are things that we've got to put in place, right? So we've got to clean up our environment. We've got to talk to our family and friends, let them know, hey, this is what's going on. We have to know our why. What is the reason that I'm doing this? Right? One of our very first shows talks about the why. Why am I doing this? What's the benefit? What am I getting? That all comes during fasting. And then improve mood and stress reduction. Now, I'll say that, was it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago or so, I came on and I said that one of my team members said, hey, you're a little crankier. That normal, right? So I'm a little bit more irritable. And part of that was, of course, I had not been resting. Okay, so that's what I'm blaming it on. That I had not been resting. But you get improved mood. And people say that, okay, they have decreased stress. Right? So amazing. So even though that initial phase, you can see those stress hormones going up, as you get further and further into the fast, then those stress hormones go down. We get a sense of calm, sense of peace. We're mindful now. We're more aware, more introspective. And so the question that I want to ask is, if that's the case, why do people sometimes during the fast have the crankiness and so forth? And that will kind of answer as we walk through the fasting process tomorrow. And it has to do a lot with preparation and what you do during the fast and so forth, setting yourself up for success. You got to make sure that you're doing that. Right? And then, so we talked about psychological and the emotional part. And what are some practical tips that we can use in terms of our fasting? So number one, stay hydrated. You knew that one was coming, right? Stay hydrated. When you're not hydrated, then and let's get away from fasting for a minute. You know that when you're not hydrated, the body goes through a lot of physiologic changes. Blood pressure drops, your mouth gets dry, you're lightheaded, you're dizzy, and the brain at that point is not focusing. So if we're in the fast and we're not hydrating, then all those same things happen. And we talked last night about washing out, flushing out ketones, right? So if you're not hydrated, the ketones that are being created, right? So we got the beta hydroxy, but we also have the acetone. So if you're not flushing that out, the acetone, the body doesn't like that. So making sure that you are staying hydrated. And then next, engage in mental activities, right? So a lot of people do puzzles, they do the Sudoku. I do math problems. Like I subscribe, I like math. So I actually subscribe to a couple of math channels. I know my son says I'm weird because I'm doing math just because. And so I'll go through and I'll work through equations, right? And whatever kind of math they're teaching. I like physics, and so I subscribe to a physics channel. And so I'm walking through the problem with them. And it's actually a physics teaching and math teaching channel, right? So where they're teaching you how to do problems, how to solve problems, how to do this. And I love doing that because it keeps my brain active. And then of course I can do it here in my devices, right? I'm not much of a crossword puzzle person. My wife is actually a puzzle person where you sit down and you put puzzles together. Okay. Next, you can incorporate light physical activity. Right. So that will burn some of the cortisol if the cortisol is high. Burn out some of the norepinephrine or epinephrine, those stress hormones. Right. Gets you distracted. Keeps your mind moving. Right, get some light physical activity in there. And then here's that phrase again. Mindfulness. Practice mindfulness and meditation. Right? Becoming aware, becoming centered, becoming fully in tune with where you are. Emotional intelligence. Developing that morning routine, that daily practice, that thing that sets you up for success. Right? Be mindful of where you are. Because now that you are mindful, you're able to tell what are those things that are pushing me in a particular direction. Being mindful. Okay? So those are some of the tips. And then I want to hop over and just run through some questions and then, of course, some reflections. Questions and reflections. So let's walk through the questions. So how long does it take to start noticing mental clarity and focus improving during fasting? And very good question. And the simple answer is that not very long, right? In fact, a lot of people have said that during that first 12, 18, maybe 24 hours, all right, if you're doing an extended fast, and of course that first 12 hours if you're doing one of the shorter fasts, intermittent fasting and so forth, you can begin feeling that clarity. But it depends, right? It depends on your metabolism. It depends actually on the things that you've eaten, right, leading into the fast, right? If you've had a high carb, highly processed meal, and that's what you've been eating in those days, then the body takes a little bit longer to burn those off. Remember, at 24 hours, usually the glycogen is gone. If you've had a lot more, right, people talk about carbing up, right, then you may take a little longer for those glycogen to begin burning off, and so then the body to be able to use to convert into ketosis or ketones, start burning ketones. Let me say it that way. Okay, so how long? It depends, but typically within that first 18 to 24 hours. And is it normal to feel mental fatigue or brain fog before experiencing mental clarity during fasting? Another great question, and the answer is it depends. right? I know it depends on everything, right? And the reason I say that is, remember, the clarity that we feel has to do with all the signs that we talked about, but it also has to do with your preparation for the fast. So if you're coming into the fast and you're dog tired, you're fatigued, you haven't been sleeping, then your ability to experience that mental clarity may be delayed as you now are in the fast and are getting rest. So it's not the fast that's causing the issue, is the fact that coming into the fast, there was not a clear preparation, or maybe we weren't hydrated enough. All of that plays a role in the fasting and the clarity that we will see and feel as we get into fasting. Okay. Next question. What can I do if I don't experience mental clarity during fasting? Very good question. Very good question. And so for this one, it actually goes back to a lot what we've talked about already during this very same show, is making sure that you're setting yourself up for success in the fast. Right, making sure you're hydrated, making sure you're rested, making sure there's not a lot of stressful things going on right now, coming out of a stressful or going into a stressful situation. And then making sure that during the time when you are eating, that you are eating a nutrient dense meal. And then during the fast, making sure that you're hydrated. So those are the four, and I don't want to use the word pillar, but they're pillars, right? So these are the things that have to be done as we're getting into the fast, or it will derail, delay, corrupt, short circuit the fast. So often the fast doesn't do what we need, not because the fast doesn't work, but because we've not prepared properly. And then, are there specific types of fastings that are better for improving mental clarity and focus? Another great question. And all of the fastings that you do will give you some mental clarity. Intermittent fasting, right? Whether it's one meal a day, or alternate day fasting, or the 5 and 2 fasting, or time restricted fasting, all of them will give you benefit. The longer fasts, however, now that you're in ketosis, right, for longer periods, then the clarity will be longer, better. You get more clear cut. Okay, hey, look at that. My thought process is clear, right? Some of the other ones, as you get into the fast, you may feel some clarity and then you start eating again. So the shorter fast, you'll have to kind of be very mindful, and as always, paying attention to your body. Okay, paying attention to your body. All right, and then next question is, well, actually not next question. Did I skip a question? I think that, are there specific, are there specific types? We dealt with that one. Okay. All right. And then let me come back over here because I see one of our community members just popped in. Well, actually, let me do this. So Steve says that his ketones are 0.7. Oh, he's guessing 0.7 for my ketones. Teresa says that she is just coming out of the fast. Grace says, hello, Dr. Woode. Hey, Grace, how you doing? Welcome. And Jennifer says, just a quick check-in as I have another live on. Take care, all. Yes, Jennifer, I'm going to have to come back and watch that. If you're on the stream that I think you're on, I'm going to have to go back and watch it tonight. Okay? And so she says good night. So thank you for popping through and hanging out with us just for a little bit. We're glad that you are here, Jennifer. Awesome. So let's see. Let's hop over here. Okay. So let's go ahead now, and what I want to do is, well, let's do this. Let's go ahead, and I want to talk about, well, let me just give a couple of thoughts. And let me see what's going on with my, there we are. Give me just a minute. I think my screen got a little wonky for a minute. Okay, there we are. Let's go back here. Yeah, so my screen got a little funny looking. Okay, so some thoughts about fasting and its effect on our bodies. Fasting and its effect on our bodies. And the first thing I want to let you know is that fasting is more than a physical practice. It's a transformative journey. So it's not just a physical practice, it's a transformative journey. So the things that you learn during fasting, the things that you learn about your body during fasting are amazing. Because a lot of people use eating, a lot of people use food as buffering behavior. Right? Do you understand what I mean when I say buffering behavior? So buffering behavior, that's that thing that you do, or the things that you do that interfaces between the thing that you think is wrong and you. So there's something that buffers, that stands between, and it is a protective mechanism. It is a coping mechanism. It is not one of the healthy coping mechanisms. And so that's why we give the term buffering. So we buffer with food. We're hurt, we're angry, we're tired, and we use food as a way to prevent us from, or to soothe us, if you will. Right? But it's a transformative journey. So when you're fasting, guess what? You don't have that buffer anymore because you can't eat. And so now you have to actually face and deal with that issue. And you've got to find a different way of dealing with it. Okay, number one, it's more than a physical practice. It's a transformative journey. And then it's mental clarity and focus during fasting is heightened, and it heightens our inherent resilience. So mental clarity and focus during fasting highlights our inherent resilience. So often, people think that they are not as strong as they really are. They think that they are pushovers, that they are, they cannot be tough. They don't have inner fortitude is the phrase that they use. But when we fast takes discipline. And we'll see that here in just a minute. Again, fasting takes discipline. And it takes stick-to-itiveness. It takes persistence. And it takes resilience. It takes you being able to bounce back. So it didn't work this time, so let's do it again. When we started our year, New Year, New You, one of the second things that we wanted you to do was to work your way up to fasting for 24 hours once a week. And some of you tried 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours. You got to 23 hours and didn't quite make it. You went back. You got to 18 hours, didn't make it. But you were persistent. You were resilient. And you came back. And some of you now are fasting 24 hours or 36 hours or 48 hours or whatever number of hours you're in. Right? 72 hours for some people. So it highlights our inherent resilience. And fasting teaches discipline, patience, and mindfulness. Right? So those things we just talked about. It teaches discipline because you got to be disciplined if you're going to fast. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to be disciplined. It teaches patience because it doesn't always happen at one time. And of course, mindfulness during fasting because we're paying attention to our bodies. We are centered. We're listening to what the body is telling us. We're becoming emotionally intelligent, right? That all happens during fasting. And clarity gained through fasting is a powerful tool for all areas of your life. What you learn during fasting can be applied across the board. To every area that you are in, every aspect of your life, you can use the tools that you learn during fasting. The discipline, the patience, the mindfulness, the resilience, all those words that we just talked about, you can apply it to your job, to your relationship, to your schooling, to your marriage, to your finances, to your health, obviously, right? You can apply it across the board because it's not restricted to here. Use mental clarity from fasting to fuel passions and achieve goals. So the clarity that you got, that's not just for you to just disregard it, but use it to push you to do some of the things that you wanted to do. Now that you have the focus, now that you have the clarity, now that you have the ability to process, that pushes you in additional directions. You want to go to school, you want to start a business, you want to start a blog, you want to be on YouTube. Hey, come on, let's do it. Okay? Embrace discomfort and challenges as catalysts for growth and transformation. Sometimes fasting can be uncomfortable. Yeah, I know that. It can be socially uncomfortable because there are people around you that are eating, people doing, right? So all those social cues. It could be physically uncomfortable. Like I told you, hey, man, I was feeling queasy. I was feeling nauseated. But I am pushing through that, right? So I ended the fast, I started the fast. I ended the fast, I started the fast. I'm 48 hours. Yay! By the way, here we go. Okay, into our fast. Yeah. So embrace it as a catalyst for growth and transformation. Remember, unlimited? That's what that's all about. Unlimited potential that you have. That all comes from education, empowerment, and encouragement. Use it as a catalyst for growth and transformation. And then carry forward the benefits of fasting into your daily life for continued personal development. That goes back to fasting teaching discipline and patience and mindfulness, and then using mental clarity to focus and send us in the direction. And then so that all of that's right there. Move it, carry it forward into your daily life. And then appreciate the deeper insights and awareness that fasting brings to your life. That mindfulness, that emotional intelligence that you will see during fasting, yep, there it is. So lots of benefits. And this is why fasting has been such an amazing tool that's been used for thousands of years. We use it for health, but it does a lot of different things. Okay, all right, so let's hop over and let's take a look at what my ketones are going to be, right? So what do you think my ketones are going to be? I think Steve said 0.7. Steve said 0.7. So here is my what my blood sugars are. Look at that. All right, so it went up a little bit. So I need to grab my Keto Mojo app. So let's go ahead and pull that up. And let's get our Keto Mojo onto the screen. And let's go ahead and start that up. And let's get it synced. So pull that over. Let's see what it is. So you still have a chance if you want to pop in and put something into the chat so you think you know what it is. Let's go ahead and do that. Hop that in right now. All right, so here, let's see what it is. And okay, so blood sugar is 58, right? That's what it showed before. And then my Keto Mojo now says 1.4. So remember, less than 0.5 is considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 is considered nutritional ketosis. And then above 1.5 is considered therapeutic ketosis. So here we are, we're above, we're in the 1.5 to 1.5. And that's at 48 hours. Well, when we checked it, it was less than 48, but close to 48. Okay, so ketosis. And then if we look at the graph, so the graph that you see there, the tan line, that's blood sugar. And so, of course, as I've decreased my eating, the blood sugar goes down, 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 down to what it is now, which is 58. And then the turquoise line, those are ketones. So as I fasted, the ketones go up. And remember, ketones and insulin can't coexist, right? It's like matter and antimatter. You know, in the science fiction movies, they tell the person, hey, when you get back, if you go back in time, don't interact with yourself because you can't be in the same space. That's what it is. Ketones and insulin can't stay in the same space, right? So they'll have to, one has to go away. But I'm excited about that. All right, and then let's hop over and let's take a look at my report. All right, which is right here. And let's see, which one of these I want to do. Let's try this one. No, let's do this one. There we go. Okay, I've not used this view in a while, so we're going to use this one. All right, and then let me get my mouse off or on so we can see. And you'll see there that my average blood sugar is 152 for the last 2 weeks. And we've talked about that, all right? So over the last 90 days, it's probably about 125, maybe 123. Okay, so not far off. If I got an A1C now, it's estimated 6.3. I'm in target 87% of the time, and my target range is 70 to 180. And if I look at the daily graphs, pull that up here in just a minute. Here we are. And so the daily graphs will show, so this is where I am. So Thursday, so let's back up. And so we started fasting right here. Let's see, so 124. Okay, yeah, so we started fasting right here, right about 9-10 o'clock. And so 24 hours later, let's go back. So we were, let's say, yeah, 122, 117. 24 hours later, 119. 24 hours after that, we're in the 90s. And then 24 hours after that, which is where we are now. I don't have one at 9 o'clock, but you see we've been in the 70s, 80s. Okay, and then of course now, if we look back at my monitor, let's see, here we are, 72 on the Libre, and then the Dexcom says 80, 86, and of course it's telling me that I've got to replace my sensor. I'm not going to do that right now. Remind me later. Okay. All right. So let's, so yeah, there it is. There it is. So mental clarity and focus comes from fasting. So it's more than just physical. All those other things happen as well. Okay. And then let's hop over and let's talk. We mentioned this briefly. I want to talk about potential, unlimited potential. You have unlimited potential. Unlimited potential to make changes in your metabolic health. By educating yourself, by encouraging, and by empowering. And that's what we do here on the channel. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcast. We empower with the tools that we learn, the challenges that we do. And we encourage with the community that we are building, the community that you are an integral part of. So remember, you have within you the power to chart your destiny, to make changes. And the Triple E formula for success sets us up for success by education, empowerment, and encouragement. Remember the the HEAT model, and the HEAT model says, hey, there are some things that are going to come at you, that are going to push you to get off of your eating plan, to get off of your fasting, and they are given by the habits, emotions, access, and taste. That's the HEAT model. The habits that we form, those social cues, right? So we eat just because it's time to eat, or we go to the movies and we eat during the movies, or we go with some friends and we hang out and we eat, not because we're hungry, but because that's what we do. We eat because of emotions, whether we're happy or sad or depressed or lonely or tired or bored. All of those emotions, when they well up, when they get strong enough, they push through our decision to do a particular thing or eat a particular way. We eat because of access, just because things are around us and we eat because of taste. And we're never chasing the taste, y'all. We're always chasing what the food does. Sorry, we're never chasing the food. We're chasing what the food does for us. The calm that it brings. The space that it puts us in. That memory of that time when we went to that place and we ate that thing and we felt that way. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. And remember our call to action. When you come through, right, join the challenges. Don't just let the challenges be something that you listen to and that's on the shelf. Right? Our challenge for this month is to find a week where you're not eating any added sugar in your meals, in your food. Right? 1 week. We just got a few more days. And then tell your story, just like people are telling their story when they join the community and join us for our meetups, right? Tell your story. When we see you, we know we can do it. And when we see you with challenges or you're having issues, we can all rally around you and we can share in that and support you. And then y'all, share it with somebody else. Let them know that we are here. Let them know that they can be better, that they have unlimited potential, that they can make changes in their lives for the better. And that brings us to our pillar, the 3 pillars for reversing diabetes. 1, decrease your insulin. 2, suppress your appetite. And number 3, right, reduce your sugar. And that's what our show was about on this past Monday. And that's what we do. We're in the process of talking about the 3rd pillar. Make sure you go back and you watch that show from last week and that you catch up with us. I'm always happy when I'm here with you. Thank you for coming through, y'all. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E, and the E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health in your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. We'll see you tomorrow at our check-in, and we'll see you Sunday at This Week in Review, 6 o'clock, right here, Central. Good night, everybody.